1.4 million are without power. This is CBS News.
A riddle brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-230-2777. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-230-2777, 800-230-2777, or biglou.com.
How to score a perfect bowling game? An international team of scientists has come up with the answer. CBS's Vicki Barker reports.
Researchers from Princeton, MIT, the University of New Mexico, and Britain's Loughborough University applied the work of 18th century mathematician Leonhard Euler to run a series of simulations, and they've come up with the formula for bowling a perfect strike. Ready? Aim for the 28th wooden floorboard from the left. Release the ball at an angle of 1.8 degrees to the right of dead straight, and hey presto, they say their findings might help bowlers improve their technique and could lead to innovations in design and equipment. Vicki Barker, CBS News, London.
The UK's highest court ruled today that the legal definition of a woman is based on a person's sex at birth and does not include transgender women. Transgender participation has become a hot-button issue in Britain as different sports try to balance inclusivity with fair competition. I'm Cammie McCormick, CBS News.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
John, what are you doing? Get in my car. Why are you walking to work?
Thanks, man. It's these insanely high gas prices. They are draining my bank account. I can't afford to drive anymore.
Dude, don't walk. Just do what I do, because I never pay full price for gas anymore. I use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, you're telling me you get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WINNING for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code WINNING. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card.
Weather on News Radio KMAN is brought to you by Sunset Zoo. Join the Sunset Zoo April 19th to celebrate Earth Day, featuring animal enrichment, community booths, scavenger hunts, and more.
Your News Radio KMAN weather update. It's currently 77, breezy and sunny outside, but tonight there's a slight chance of showers that'll increase after 1 a.m. Besides that, it'll be mostly clear during the evening and mostly cloudy overnight. Thursday will be mostly sunny with a high near 92. Break those t-shirts out as wind gusts can get as high as 30 miles per hour. Into Thursday night, mostly clear with a low around 54 and wind gusts around 25. Into Friday, partly sunny with a high around 70. Now it's time for the game.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
K-State baseball, man, guys, you're killing me here. Killing me. You're not even worthy of your killing me Smalls line. It's worse than that. I understand Northeastern's good, but man, the errors. The unforced errors. They can't play catch. The strikeouts. The best player this weekend was J.J. Slack. He's having a rough year. That's the one positive, probably. I'll have to wait and see the combined stats of the two games. It was 2 weeks ago. K-State was hosting in the NCAA tournament, one spot out according to the bracketology of, they host, and then if they make a super regional, they host again. And now K-State's on the backside of maybe being a 3 seed, according to the latest RPI standings and the bracketology. Their stock is plummeting right now. Did somebody put tariffs on K-State baseball? What happened in April? Tanking. That's not good. Not a lot of hype around the KU series now. I think that's fair to say. I don't like where this is going. Fundamentally, the team's skills have gone in the toilet. Crazy. It's baseball, though. We got to remember, baseball can be weird. A great team can all of a sudden just go in this, the calendar flips, and then all of a sudden they're in a slump. And then things at some point just randomly start clicking again. It just happens. So I'm going to try to stay optimistic and allow me to welcome you to the show. Welcome to the game. Mitch Fortner with Cole Dutchendorf. Jimmy Coppin is with you across the. Did you just get a haircut?
I did just get a haircut.
Got a haircut. I get a lot of. Did you get a haircut too, Cole?
I did, and this is the first time you've mentioned it, and I've been with you all day long. I'm offended.
Ask my girlfriend. I recognize haircuts 40% of the time. Honestly, I think that's a good clip.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
You'll take that.
I need to do better at noticing her stuff, though.
That's
hair color,
the
changes. Yep. I have, it's like calling in sick for work. I have my go-to excuses. It's too dark in the room. I couldn't tell. Oh, I thought your hair was already that color. Probably got to come up with some new ones. We're with you until 5:30. We got some Royals baseball. The Royals are going to try it again against the Yankees tonight in the Bronx. And got a special guest coming on at 5:10. Had to reschedule because just the worries of K-State baseball going a little late. They didn't really go late. They got done early today. But we're going to speak with, he is an author. He is a Penn State trustee. He is the son of legendary college football head coach at Penn State, Jay Paterno. Jay Paterno will be joining us coming up at 5:10 to talk revenue sharing, the roster limits, NIL, the direction of college football. We're going to try to get a lot of questions in a short amount of time and just kind of pick his brain. He also wrote a book about it that's been out here a few months, so he'll plug that coming up as well. That'll be at 5:10. We'll hear from Matt Wells, who had a press conference earlier today at 4:40. He's pumped about Avery Johnson's improvements, the potential of the passing game through the roof for this team. A team that has more size, a team that has more speed now, chiseled abs, bulkier, or in some cases have slimmed down like they've been working on P90X for the last 6 months. Do you guys know what P90X is? You heard of it?
Vaguely.
That probably came out when you were toddlers. I think I still have it. Like the DVD set that cost $90.
$90?
I bet that'll go for some cash now. It's like retro.
Probably.
You think?
Retro's in these days.
You might be on something. I didn't even think about that.
Might need to
probably
hit up
not in
eBay.
great shape. Like the case, probably not in great shape.
Not mint condition.
Like if I was to get it graded, it'd probably be like a 5 or something. And, the Pawn Star guys would be like, well, if this was in perfect condition, you're looking at $1,000. I'll give you 40.
Right.
So it's Wednesday. And you know what that means. AEW Dynamite tonight from the MGM Music Hall at Fenway from, of course, Boston, Massachusetts. K-State getting ready to leave Boston. Here comes AEW. Tonight is a historic night for AEW because tonight they will officially pass WCW Nitro as the longest-running pro wrestling show on Turner Sports Broadcasting. So congratulations, or Turner Broadcasting, whatever it is, on TBS tonight, starting at 7 o'clock. They are going to pass Monday Nitro that was on in the 80s, or in the 80s, the late 90s and the early 2000s. AEW will officially have more episodes on TBS or TNT than WCW. That also means we're joined by K-State Online, and we are pleased to be joined by Drew Galloway from K-State Online. Drew, welcome back into the show. Recently learned you moved to Georgia. How do you like living in the Peach State so far?
Yeah, it's really nice. I have family down here. My wife's family all lives here. Hardest part is trying to get adjusted, like, still to Eastern time, because Mason Voth and I still talk, and whenever we're recording, it's all like Central time. So remembering what time that is for me. And then pollen, a lot more prevalent in the state of Georgia. I have gone through probably 4 boxes of tissues in 2 weeks. I have sounded kind of gross when I've woken up every morning. And I've told Mason that, like, when we're recording today, we got to do it like mid-afternoon. Let me get some like water, tea, anything that can like help my voice clear up a little bit. But it's been really fun so far.
What part of Georgia are we talking about?
So we're like an hour 15 away from Atlanta. I think that Mason and I were talking yesterday, and it takes me like an hour and 20 minutes to get to like Truist Park.
Okay, what direction we like? What town are you close to or living in? Let's go that way.
Loganville and Monroe is like the closest area.
Yeah, I wish I knew Georgia more. I wish I could pinpoint that a little bit more. You're gonna try to go, like, now that you're down there, you're still doing your K-State stuff, of course, but like trying to go to SEC games, is that going to become a thing? You're going to try to go to like Georgia games or anything?
Yeah, with 3 bye weeks this year, it makes it a little bit easier for me on a Saturday. Like, if I want to go to a Georgia game, I'll probably end up going to a Georgia game. My wife's work has tickets to Braves games whenever we want to go. So I'm actually a little upset that the Royals this year are playing the Braves in Kansas City instead of going to Atlanta.
Let me ask you that question. Who's playing better baseball in April, K-State or the Royals?
Ooh, I think that I'd still go K-State, because I think that K-State has kind of came back to earth a little bit, and is kind of the team that we all kind of anticipated them being before the season, where I think that I would argue that the Royals are kind of underachieving right now.
Okay. I think K-State's calibrating a little bit too. I mean, they are jerking the wheel a little bit too much for my comfort zone right now, but let's hope they kind of move the needle back in a positive direction. Let's get to the K-State topics. A lot to talk about. A lot of it, of course, is on the basketball side, where early this week it was pretty chaotic. A lot happening at kind of one time. 3 players entering the transfer portal. By falls in, fine. Who got on Yinso, kind of saw it coming. Really struggled to tap in their potential, or at least just didn't execute at a high level consistently like Ugadan Yensu, who got a lot of opportunity. But then one you probably didn't want to see. I'll get your reaction to it. What was your reaction to Doug McDaniel entering the transfer portal?
To be honest, it was like a mixed reaction, because on the surface you could say, okay, like that's fine. On the court, Doug McDaniel probably pretty replaceable. Didn't really play as well as everybody anticipated him playing this year. But then you go through and you talk about like wanting to have a lot of retention this year, because K-State hasn't had a lot of retention yet in the Jerome Tang era. And he hasn't had his lead guard come back at any point during his tenure yet. So from that standpoint, it just hurts as, okay, we're about to go into year 4. Both of the guys that you really wanted to come back aren't coming back. The guys that are coming back, outside of Moby Ike Garuka, CJ Jones, and David Castillo, like Taj Manning hasn't played much, so you don't really know there. Moby Ike Garuka is really just an energy guy. David Castillo really underperformed as a true freshman. And then CJ Jones isn't a guy that I think can really take that next jump to be like a big time, like starter, Big 12 caliber player yet. So you're kind of stuck with what you have returning. You kind of want a little bit more out of those guys. You need them to take big jumps now, because they're going to go from guys that might have been near the end of the bench to now you might have to play them a lot, because we just don't know what this roster is going to look like. So I think that's where Doug McDaniel transferring hurts the most. It is because you wanted all this retention, and now you don't have Brennan Hasen or Doug McDaniel, and now you're going through this and you're replacing. I think I saw 86% of the scoring from last season.
Yeah, the most scoring you have back is CJ, who was about 5.5 points a game, I think is where he was at. Started early in the year, didn't start in Big 12 play. Yeah, just not a lot of production coming back. Almost maybe leaves you a little bit surprised about the guys who are coming back. Just now you're building over. You're not exactly building around. I go back to the thought about Doug. Like maybe this could be a good thing in K-State for the long run. That he butted heads early with Jerome Tang. Like, did you think after a Chor left that if anybody was going to be next, it could be Doug, because at that time he just wasn't getting the keys to the car necessarily until basically Jerome Tang just kind of caved in.
Yeah, it really seemed like he was going to be a guy that would have left early on, and then you kind of saw him turn the corner a little bit and really grow off the court. And I think that's what made people so excited about like wanting to bring him back, because there was a point where I was kind of indifferent on if he should come back or would come back. And then you see him kind of turn the corner and be more of a leader and do better things off or on and off the court. And you're like, okay, he would be somebody that I'd want back. And then for him to leave ultimately, I think just kind of really hurts, because again, it's just a full roster of newcomers essentially that are going to be playing major minutes. And this is something that Jerome Tang and Gene Taylor both kind of talked about, that they didn't want to have happen again. And now it's happening again. And also just is kind of frustrating from that standpoint of like, if there was a time where you wanted a lot of roster attention, it probably would have been last offseason actually, because K-State could have kept Cam Carter and Arthur Kaluma and then just went out and found like a lead guard to really work around them.
Drew Galloway from K-State Online is our guest. I struggle, Drew, to enjoy the players that K-State picked up in the meantime. Like we've seen this happen now twice, where big news comes out. We got one of the top players for K-State transferring out, but at this hours later, here comes another player that's coming in out of the transfer portal very quietly when it comes to the recruiting. But we're talking about Monmouth's Abdi Bashir, and then UMC Wilmington forward Kamari McGriff. If you take away the personal feelings about the direction of the program and just focus on what K-State picked up, are you a fan of the direction of the recruiting? It seems like, I don't know how I want to explain this. Maybe just some guys that have earned their way to a bigger role that have plenty of potential. They do specific things. What do you like about these pickups?
For Abdi Bashir, I like that he can score in a multitude of ways. Like, he's not just a shooter. He's a guy that can create his own shot and be a guy that if you need a shot late in the shot clock, he can go get it. I think that McGriff is somebody that is not quite David Gasson level, but kind of plays like David Gasson. He's going to be an undersized 5, has a lot of good energy, has actually more offensive game, I think, than David Gasson had, but probably has less rebounding. But he's really good around the rim. In a vacuum, I like the two pickups because I think that they kind of do things that K-State really needed this past season. The problem is that when you look at what the roster has as a whole right now, you kind of wonder where it's going to go, because I think that McGriff is probably at best like a 20-minute guy where he kind of splits time with Tyreek Smith at the 5. And then Bashir, you just have a lot of questions because of the weight. And then you have questions about him because he was horrific, to put it lightly, defensively on a really bad defensive team in Monmouth last year. So even the pickups that they've had, you have some questions, and you can squint to get a path to where things look better. But right now, it's just, it is hard to kind of see the vision until you really see it on the court for the first time.
You brought up something that I worried about right out of the gate about McGriff, and that's his defensive numbers. The advanced metrics says he's one of the worst in the country, But I was like, at one point, I was like, I gotta stop looking at the numbers. I gotta watch a lot of film on him. Like, how was he playing on defense? How good as a team was Monmouth on defense? They're absolute trash. I mean, how much do you feel like are you willing to give him a clean slate on the defensive end, or did you see some things that like, well, maybe just fundamentally he may just not be that kind of player?
Yeah, I'm willing to give Bashir a little bit of a pass because not only was Monmouth horrific defensively, like their offensive scheme was really bad. KSU_fan pointed it out to me when I pointed out to him that Bashir, what he's going to do that drives me crazier than the defense would be that how many mid-range shots that he took last year or this past year, because he took almost, I think it was over 170 mid-range jump shots and shot less than 35% on them. K-State's offense, for what it's worth, it has had its rough moments. It's had its great moments. The one thing that they do really well is that they eliminate the mid-range jump shot. So I think that if you eliminate that with Bashir as well, that you really have something. And at best, I could see him being an all-conference player. But you need to get him able to play a little bit of defense as well.
Drew Galloway from KSO Online is our guest via Georgia. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, we finish up talking a little bit about K-State football, including takeaways from the spring conversations that we had, the storylines of the spring up to this point, and K-State has a pretty solid target at quarterback for the 2026 class. We'll get the latest from Drew Galloway after this break on The Game on K-Man.
Miss any of the show? Check out The Game podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and of course, NewsRadioKMAN.com. You're listening to The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Sure, every homeowner cares about the look and performance of their new windows. But what about safety? Window security is often overlooked, but home safeguarding is a real concern. And it starts with your doors and windows. At Midland Exteriors, we take your home and your family's security seriously. And that's why we only install one of the most durable, safest, and most secure windows on the market, Marvin Infinity Fiberglass windows. They're 8 times stronger than weaker, more flimsy vinyl windows. It's kind of like the difference between tearing a phone book in half and a sheet of paper. And our fiberglass windows come equipped with steel locks, not easy to break plastic locks, for added reinforcement. In other words, no intruder is getting into your house unless you invite them in. For more secure windows and total peace of mind, call Midland Exteriors at 855-735-8255 or visit midlandexteriors.com. That's 855-735-8255 or midlandexteriors.com.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's new construction or expansion, our team simplifies complex projects. We build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit McCownGordon.com.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
At this very moment, Doctors Without Borders is on the ground in communities around the world, delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most. Our teams are bandaging war-wounded patients caught in the crossfire in Sudan, providing clean drinking water in Haiti, and performing emergency C-sections in Yemen. Doctors Without Borders teams are in over 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving work is made possible by our movement of supporters, people like you who help our patients even when they're half a world away. At Doctors Without Borders, we won't stop working to bring our patients and their communities from crisis to care.
Get your morning started with KMAN's Morning News, weekdays at 6.
Thursday may very well be the warmest day of the season to date. We get Chip Redmond's thoughts on what the forecast does beyond that, however, as the Mesonet meteorologist joins us at 7:35. We've also got tickets to give away from the Kane Auditorium, plus much more. Of course, your headlines with Brandon Peoples as well.
KMAN's Morning News, weekday mornings, 6 to 9 on News Radio, KMAN.
I'm Jimmy Kaufman, and this is a game sports update. K-State struggled in the field against Massachusetts, losing 5-3 in Northeastern in a 2-game sweep today. The Wildcats gave up 2 more unearned runs, which proved to be the difference against a Husky team that played mistake-free baseball in the midweek matchup. Tazewell Butler got his first appearance since March 30th on the mound for the Cats, giving up 3 runs in 3 innings in the start. J.J. Slack kept K-State in the game with 4 shutout innings, striking out 5, but got no run support from the offense as K-State went scoreless after the 3rd inning. The Wildcats are back in action for a 3-game series against Kansas and Lawrence, starting Friday with pregame coverage on News Radio KMAN beginning at 5:30. Jason Dominguez went 3 for 3 with a 3-run double that put the New York Yankees ahead in the 6th inning of a 4-2 victory over the Kansas City Royals on Tuesday night. The Yankees erased a 2-0 deficit with a 4-run 6th, aided by 3 straight 2-out walks. Michael Wacha was working on a 4-hit shutout when he walked Jazz Chisholm Jr. and Anthony Volpe to load the bases in the 6th. Dominguez cleared the bases with a double off of Angel Zerpa. New York will go for a 3-game sweep tonight with coverage beginning at 5:30 on News Radio KMAN. Now it's back to the game.
Oh, well, how about this? Not really breaking news, just kind of squashing some rumors. The rumors were out there that Josh Heupel in Tennessee was going to go after TCU quarterback Josh Hoover, and that Hoover was going to take the money. Well, according to On3, Josh Hoover will not enter the transfer portal. He is not a target any longer for the Tennessee Volunteers since Nico Alala decided to skip out of town, no show at practice right before the spring game. He wanted more money. And Tennessee was like, we're going to have to go our separate ways. It's over. We're back on the game. Mitch Fortner, Cole Dutchendorf, Jimmy Kaufman, and joining us from Georgia, Drew Galloway from K-State Online. Drew, if you're Josh Heupel in Tennessee, what quarterback from the Big 12 do you want to fit your offense? Is Avery Johnson that answer?
I think that he's probably the answer. The hard part for me is I don't really see a world where I think Tennessee fans or Tennessee staff is happy with what they do. I think they're kind of in a weird spot because, the reports out there that Dan Lanning kind of tipped Heupel off about Nico Iamaleava looking towards going somewhere else. Would feel kind of weird if Heupel got into the tampering and got a good quarterback out of the portal. So I don't think that they'll be very happy with what ends up happening.
Nah, not really. Another thing that just came across my desk, and I'm late on this, and that's on me. Colorado is they're retiring the jerseys of Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. I understand Travis Hunter. Should they, Drew, be retiring the jersey of Shedeur Sanders?
At least not yet. I could hear an argument like 10 to 15 years from now, But like Shedeur Sanders was still taking classes at Colorado not that long ago. Sure. And neither was Travis Hunter. So that one is even like the timing of it is just the weirdest part to me.
It's quite a rush. It really, and they're about to be drafted, about to go into the NFL. Like, are they going to be able to come back and get honored? Things like that. They're going to do this thing right away. Yeah, it is a little bit. But I'm like, Colorado's only retired 4 jerseys ever. Like, and they do have like a Ring of Honor type of thing on the press box with all the consensus All-Americans, like an Eric Bieniemy, so on and so forth, Rashad Salam, those kind of players. But like quarterback-wise, they don't really have a rich history of quarterbacks. Like Joe Klatt, that's pretty much all I can think of. They don't have another quarterback that has their jersey retired. I don't know. Just thought that was a little much. I didn't know if, but for sure, Travis Hunter, I mean, Heisman Trophy winner, he should absolutely get that. All right, let's get back to the Cats. Drew, I got to be honest with you, with spring football talk, you know, I'm struggling to be like super pumped about everything that's going on. Like, I'm pumped about K-State. I think they're going to be great next year. You know, but there's just kind of the day-to-day talks. You know, it's not the most entertaining stuff. I think maybe the most entertaining part about spring football is maybe all the workout stuff with Coach True and you know, and the potential cuts of the roster. So help me get a little bit more excited about spring football. Is there anything you take away the most about the press conferences we've had with Kleiman, Malone, Wells today, the player stuff that you've really taken into a really big piece of information?
I'm right there with you because the thing that has really stood out to me the most has been all of really the strength and conditioning stuff that we've seen because all the guys look a lot bigger, stronger, faster. Some guys look leaner, and they just look and sound so focused that I think that they're even like, okay, like let's just get through the spring, get ready for the fall. And then, like, let's kick off the season in Ireland because I think that everybody is so focused and everybody is all on the same page. And this feels like the most connected K-State group that Chris Kleiman has had because now you're starting to hear things that Chris Kleiman says or used to say during press conferences. You're hearing that from every single player now.
You're right on the boy, just looking bigger and stronger. Taylor Portier looks like, you know, he's been doing 8-minute abs 13 times a day. And the other player that really stood out to me, Dylan Edwards, looked like he's hit a growth spurt. The pecs are more peckish, and he's added girth to the legs. Like, he's really hit the weight room. So I'm very impressed by the transformation of some of these guys. I need to get a part of the Coach True program and improve my life. Let's get to some recruiting with football. You put out an article not too long ago that I think the listeners would be very interested to hear a few details about. 2026, we knew each year, Coach Kleiman and company, they want to sign a quarterback to each class. And you put out something about a potential target for 2026 at quarterback. You want to share some of those details?
Yeah, so right now, K-State really only has one real target at quarterback, but I think it's somebody that they're going to end up landing at some point. And it's a California native, Brady Palmer. He was just on campus for an unofficial visit over the weekend. I believe it was this past Friday. Really enjoyed his time at K-State. Really likes Matt Wells, liked what he saw from the practice standpoint, from the strength and conditioning standpoint to the playbook. And as somebody that will probably come back for an official visit during the summer. And that's just a big deal because you need a quarterback every single class. And if you look at what K-State's done at quarterback in the last few classes, I mean, it's gone from Avery to Blake Barnett, who is somebody that the coaching staff and I am still really excited about. Dylan Duff is somebody that Chris Kleiman gushed about during the National Signing Day press conference last year. And then to bring in somebody like Brady Palmer would just be a good last 4 years at the quarterback position. And K-State really has that spot really hunkered down, and they really know what they're doing at quarterback. So really since Chris Kleiman took over.
Any relation to any of the other Palmers that we associate with college football?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Well, with that, Drew, I hope at one point we'll have you back on this upcoming football season. You can give us a review of a Georgia football game or a Braves baseball game. I've never really been to a game in the South, and I'm sure that's just a different breed of fan down there. So with that, I hope you're enjoying your time down there so far, and I appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Drew Galloway, KSO Online, now a Georgia native. I'm not going to lie, and I hate to admit this, my girlfriend really enjoys some trashy reality shows. And she has started watching a show that I have since, I want to spend quality time with her. So I'm going to check out her show, and it's called Southern Charm. It's on Bravo. I already got kind of sucked into one show. It's called Below Deck. There's different variations of that. But then she got me on this Southern Charm thing. It's so dumb, yet it just brings you in. I'm not sensing, though, that Southern Charm yet from Drew Galloway. So we're going to track the Drew Galloway Southern Charm as we have him on every few weeks or so. That is Drew Galloway from KSO Online. When we come back, it's still to come at 5:10. Looking forward to a conversation with the son of legendary Penn State football coach Jay Paterno. Jay Paterno coming on at 5:10 to plug his new book and talk, the changes of college football, the NIL, the roster limit, the revenue sharing in college athletics up to $20.5 million. Is that a thing that Penn State, just like everybody else, is going to struggle to find? $20.5 million. That's coming up at 5:10. We hear from offensive coordinator Matt Wells of the Cats after these words.
Your home for K-State sports.
31st pick of the 2023 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Felix Enrique Uzama, defensive end, Kansas State.
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Hey, K-State fans, football season will be here before you know it, and 2025 season tickets are on sale now. Order your season tickets today and secure a seat in the bill for all 6 home games this fall. Saturdays in Manhattan are best when spent cheering on the Cats with 50,000 members of the K-State family. To order, visit kstatesports.com or call 1-800-221-CATS. Go Cats!
Every body is different. Some get injured and others wear down. At Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Center, your unique condition is at the center of what we do. Locally owned, OSMC is all-inclusive, featuring state-of-the-art equipment and treatment from diagnosis through surgery, physical therapy, and a return to activity to get you back to an active and pain-free life. Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Center, the same doctors trusted by Kansas State University. The greatest comebacks begin here. More information at kansasortho.com.
Suicide is preventable, and help is always available. If you're feeling hopeless or overwhelmed, you're not alone. Every day, lives are saved when people reach out for support. Pawnee Mental Health is here to help you through the hard moments, because your life matters. Call our 24/7 crisis hotline at 1-800-609-2002 or visit us at 1558 Hayes Drive in Manhattan to begin your path to healing. Remember, there is hope and there is help. Let's take the first step together.
The word father means a lot to me. Being that support system for them, and as a man, that's important in a child's life. I think men can be a little stubborn sometimes where they may want the help, they may not know how to ask. It's hard for a man to speak his emotions. Those tears, they mean something. In Arapaho way, tears are water and water is life. And when you shed those tears, that's love. That's real love. Sometimes as dads, I think we're too hard on ourselves. Life can come at you really quick, and it can be really tough at times. But then you put that one foot in front of the other, and you keep doing the right thing. Slowly that voice goes away, Arapaho way, you gotta pray for yourself, as well as for everybody else, but never forget yourself.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
There are many times I thought, I can't do this. I mean, what parent isn't worried about? What am I not doing right? What am I not doing enough? And then I realized, wait, that's being a parent.
Don't worry about being perfect. I've had around 3 other mother figures in my life, but only one of them has taught me how a mother loves.
The greatest reward for me is he makes me better every day.
I would tell a family considering adopting a teenager that teenager, whoever it is, needs you, and they need what you have to offer.
Taylor's given me hope. He's our son, and that is what he will always be.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
The Ramsey Show.
Up to 50% of American families are paying their adult children's bills to an average of $1,482 a month. Wow. I've never seen it like this. 25% of millennials, their parents are paying their housing, house payment, their rent, or they're living in their basement. You pay your kids' bills. Psychologists call that enabling. As a matter of fact, enabling is quite the opposite of loving.
Go from paycheck to purpose with The Ramsey Show. Weekdays 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN.
Your News Radio KMAN weather update. It's currently 77 degrees, sunny and breezy outside, but tonight we're looking at a chance of showers that'll increase after 1 a.m., but besides that, it'll be mostly clear during the evening and get cloudy overnight with a low around 60. Into Thursday, it's going to be mostly sunny with a high near 92 and wind gusts at 30 miles per hour. Get those t-shirts out, folks. Into Thursday night, it'll be mostly clear with a low around 54 and 25 mile an hour wind gusts. Into Friday, partly sunny with a high near 70. Now it's back to the game.
Jimmy coming back with that Mo Bamba. Hour one of the game, rather. We're short at hour two. That'll wrap up coming up at 5:30. Royals baseball is going to start at that point. Can they get a win in the Bronx?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't love their chances after their performance offensively the first couple of games.
Seems like they get a couple of hits and then everything just goes stale.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. In a great ballpark like that. Mitch Fortner, Cole Dutchendorf, Jimmy Koppman with you until 5:30. We're with you only from 4 to 5 tomorrow, and then another 4 to 5:30 for Friday as K-State gets ready to open up a Big 12 series against the Kansas Jayhawks. Still waiting for the email. I always get an email after every game of like all the updated stats from baseball. I want to see the collective stats before I really dig into that series. So that'll probably be tomorrow, and then dial things up for the series against KU. It's a pretty big one. I mean, it didn't matter what the results were with Northeastern. It was a big series nonetheless. Big 12 standings is your rival, but things aren't as fun right now. April's been a pretty rough month for the Bad Cats so far. Let's get to Matt Wells, quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator. First of all, we have not been able to have Luke Wells yet on the show. Just haven't been able to work that out. But you were there with the scrum earlier. Like, character-wise, personality, was he a lot like Matt?
He just seems super stoked to get everything going. I mean, he didn't have enough nice things to say about the tight end group and about K-State and about the entire process that it's been early in spring. It was great to listen to, and I think he has a lot of insight. And he did remind me definitely a little bit of Matt. And I'm excited to see what he brings to the table, because if what he can bring to the table is anything like his interview today, I think K-State, the tight end room, is in for another year of success. Yeah,
walks into the greatest tight end room probably in K-State history. Lincoln Cure still won't be here until the summer. He's got track season. He's going to go set some records again in state track in Wichita here very soon. Swanee's coming back. So on. I go into that a lot. We'll hear from Luke Wells coming up tomorrow. We'll probably hear a big chunk of that just media interview, and he'll officially make his debut here on the show. But just kind of picking out some clips here from the Matt Wells press conference earlier today. Nothing too groundbreaking, but did go into a little bit of detail about just potential, where Avery is growing. First of all, Avery putting on that weight.
The 9 months and him gaining weight, and he's right at 200, and he's gotten bigger, he's gotten faster. He's literally gotten faster. He's holding it well, and I think he'll gain some more over the summer and start camp, the heaviest has been, but he'll also start camp the fastest that he's been too.
Man, Coach Wills, quit teasing Knoxville, Tennessee like that. They're drooling right now. They're like, oh, he put on some weight. That's our boy right there. I think Avery weighed in last year like $190. or something like, we're talking soaking wet, hair not as curly, just 190 at best. So if putting on 10 pounds for a kid like him and a body like his, that's quite the improvement. Looking more on the field, improvement wise on Avery, continuing to learn is pretty big right now.
The more Avery grows and learns and develops, the more we do. And man, I've been so proud of him for the last 4 months. He has grown, his leadership, his maturity, and his knowledge. Football knowledge, our specific knowledge of this system, and maybe even some new things and maybe old things and all of that combined. But man, he's been awesome.
And to build on that, what Avery has worked on this offseason.
Specific things that we're working on, whether it's pocket movement and a presence in the pocket and his footwork and his base, a deep ball. I think those are things that come to mind right now. But I think there's also a leadership component that I've seen grown.
Yeah, for me, I go back to about the middle of this season. I felt like Avery at one point kind of grew as a better pocket presence. I think there was a moment where I just felt like, Avery got rid of some bad habits. I thought early on last year, I think there were some moments in the Tulane game when it comes to just maybe some bad footwork, some bad decisions to flush the pocket way too early, trying to keep a play alive. Maybe he just heard footsteps and just needed to trust his offense more, be a more pocket presence, and leave the pocket when, of course, it was necessary. He kind of did turn that around. He tuned it up. He got a lot smarter there. IQ stuff for sure, continuing to grow there, just smarter with the football, seeing the defense. It's not anything that you can't correct. But I understand where Coach is coming from, because now he's a leadership role as a quarterback. Got a lot of new guys coming in, a wide receiver, new running backs, new guys to work with. You're about to come in as a 5-star tight end who's a super big deal, the highest rated recruit in program history. So there's a lot more names to deal with, and Avery's going to be a leader for those guys. So as an upperclassman, as a quarterback, he's going to need to take on more as a quarterback for the Cats. Mindset for the offense. Here's Matt Wells again.
Mindset is we want to continue to be physical. You want to run the ball. You got to run the ball late in the year, late in the game, late in the year. So I think that's always a mindset of physicality. That's the Power Cat. That's K-State. That's who this program's been for a long time. And so I think we want that. But, I just think aggressive, and you're taking shots and you're using the weapons that you have and trying to use them to the best of your ability.
Probably, the influence there of Matt Wells of not afraid to take shots. We saw that with Jace Brown last year in multiple instances, and we really saw it more of a go-to and working in the second half of the year. It started with Colorado in that game-winning play where the touchdown with all the celebrities in the end zone, or the side of the end zone there in Boulder. The play against Houston that went for 60-plus yards. Matt Wells, I think it feels like the mindset won't be as conservative. There'll be an element of conservative play calling, I would assume, in certain instances. Where I thought it got too vanilla last year was like on second down. It didn't matter what the first down play was. If it wasn't very successful, K-State would just typically go with a simple zone read play, hand it off to DJ on second down, and try to set up third and manageable. I thought that got too predictable, too vanilla. I think where Matt Wells comes into play is you're not going to see probably just that kind of simple mindset moving forward in what was last year just kind of a go-to play for a player that could probably do a lot more than just the same old second down play.
Well, especially given and looking ahead to this next season, the weapons that this offense is going to have, and his eyes literally lit up when he was asked about what this offense has to bring in terms of the weapons and the speed that they have. He mentioned that he loves speed. So when you have those guys at your disposal, you don't necessarily want to do those zone reads, those inside zones on 2nd and 8 to set up 3rd and manageable, when you can try to take a shot on 2nd and 8 and you can try to get bold with your play calling. And I hope we see that. We've already seen some new wrinkles in terms of I think I saw a video of Avery under center at one point during one of the spring games. There was the speed option that we saw with him and Jace, a couple of those plays at the spring practice. So I like to see the willingness to have those kind of wrinkles into the playbook, but also what we perceive is he's going to be a little bit more aggressive in situational football than maybe K-State was last year offensively.
Well, what you bring in there with the weapons, I think that definitely goes in with what Matt Wells had to say about the potential of the passing game and the pass catchers, and it's of course more than just wide receivers.
Yeah, they'll be really good. They're gonna catch a lot of balls. You put those two and Jace in our tight end room and JD and then you add our running backs and our Joe and Dylan can catch the ball, and Dylan will and can go play in the slot with Joe, without Joe. Joe can flex out and Joe can run routes, and so I love that about both backs, that they can catch balls.
Well, I like the potential of using the word weapon and being an electric offense. First of all, it starts with Avery Johnson. There's no doubt this offense is going to have a lot to do. I say a lot. It's going to have its opportunities to use Lincoln Cure a lot. There's no way I think you keep him off the field a lot of a game and you just kind of pick and choose your moments. I think Lincoln has to be a pretty major part of this offense. Tight end position is a lot deeper. You got guys that go catch touchdowns, but they are effective in the red zone, mostly in the red zone. Broaden those horizons and start to stretch the field a little bit more, as Matt Wells would like to flex tight ends. There's no secret about that. That's what he did at Texas Tech. Expect that at K-State. And then you have, Joe Jackson was robbed of a touchdown against Tulane. Gabe Ervin, when he is healthy, he can be that kind of playmaker for you out of the backfield to go catch a pass. And Dylan Edwards is absolutely electric. This team is going to probably be faster. The luxury there is how the wide receivers come into play, them getting faster and stronger, but you have a veteran like Duran Bradley, who Matt Wells knows very well. Matt talked about him today, about how he has known Duran Bradley since he was 16 years old. And if there's anybody in this offense that should come into the season with a chip on their shoulder, Duran Bradley is that guy. Transferred out of Texas Tech with another opportunity at Boston College, but old Bill O'Brien thought, what we should do? Let's try to go back to an offense that was really working well in 1925, where we just run the football. Let's just run it down their throat.
It's a wide receiver's dream.
The passing game is not a priority whatsoever, and let's just feed this 6'5", 220-pound wide receiver I don't know what it was, but it was hardly any last year. He was a starter. He played a lot, but the ball was hardly ever going in his direction. Size was actually not a priority when it came to who K-State wanted to recruit a wide receiver and going to the transfer portal and bringing in a bunch of guys, and two of them, along with Dron Tips, are going to probably be starters this upcoming season. It wasn't really a play on size. It was just a play on fit. Well, Duran Bradley also has that fit. It's like, can he be the Jabastin Taylor that we thought Jabastin Taylor was going to be? 6'5", 220 pounds, high hands with speed, and will go up and get a football. And, these smaller DBs are going to have a tough time winning with his size. Can he be that kind of playmaker? Well, we've seen 1 year in particular for Texas Tech where he was a pretty solid weapon. But don't forget, Jace Brown, we're obviously going to expect him, who's one of the fastest players on the team, to have the season of his career. Can he be a 1,000-yard receiver? So expect him to be the go-to guy. But K-State's depth when it comes to respect to the offense and where the ball could go, with the horizons being a little bit broader there.
It just feels like it's going to be a completely wide open offense. You don't really have any weakness in any of the skill position groups. You have a really great tight end room. Obviously, we've touched on that. You have what you think is a pretty high upside in the wide receiver room. You have a guy like Jace Brown leading them, but also guys out of the transfer portal with, again, the high upside. And then the running back room, one word that Coach Brian Anderson of the running backs kept on using was versatile. They can do a lot of different things. They can give you a whole lot of different looks. And so it's some of the purple-colored glasses or whatever, but I'm extremely excited to see this offense in action this coming season.
Well, nobody knows K-State better than the ones that wear the purple-shaded glasses.
It's true.
So, look, take our words for it, or if you just want to go to ESPN and hear them talk about their thoughts on K-State, you're not going to get a good enough of a breakdown of the K-State offense other than here and maybe some other places. But it's perfectly fine to have that kind of hype about the offense. It's just, can K-State be a little bit deeper with the wide receivers? Can they be effective like with the transfers where it's been kind of spotty? With some of them, injuries come into play as well. And offensive line, developing the offensive line, can they have a little bit of a deeper run with those guys up front? A short hour 2 coming up next. KMAN.
Game on. Tweet the game, KMAN. Or call 537-1350 and get in touch with the show. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
At Stormontville Health, our patients are our neighbors and our communities are home.
We invest in your health and our community by bringing high-quality healthcare closer to home. From our Wamego Clinic to our new campus in Manhattan and the Flint Hills Hospital in Junction City. Our partnerships with organizations like the Mayo Clinic and the Children's Miracle Network bring top-notch expertise to our region. We take pride in local collaboration to stay connected to our communities. Visit StormontVale.org.
Stormontville Health, high-quality care closer to home.
It's Kubota Orange Days. From America's #1 selling compact tractor to zero-turn mowers and versatile RTVs, get your perfect match delivered to your door. Now through June 30th, get zero down, 0% APR for 84 months or up to $3,000 off select compact tractors. See the details at KubotaOrangeDays.com.
Get equipped with the Kubota at Can Equip in Topeka or Wamego.
Can you help me access my work computer now that I'm working from home?
We can do that. Is it possible for you to troubleshoot my computer without me coming into your store? We can do that.
I'm getting messages that my password's been compromised by hackers.
We can.
And that I have malware installed.
We can.
I don't even go to the mall.
We can do all of that. Fox Business Systems business level support. We can do that.
Call 776-1452 or stop by 531 Fort Riley Boulevard. WeBuildSolutions.com.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
What? You want more? You got more. More of The Game coming up next on News Radio KMAN, Manhattan.
From the KMAN Manhattan Mercury Newsroom, I'm Bernie Fansella with your 5 p.m. news update. Riley County fire officials provided county commissioners Monday with a summary of the April 7th Harmony Road fire in northeastern Riley County, highlighting complex challenges of managing prescribed burns in the Flint Hills. Deputy Chief Doug Russell says the biggest issue they had last week was determining what was and what wasn't supposed to be burning.
Crews made initial attack. We knew initially it was on the riverbed. And we've been saying since the last few years, as soon as it gets on the riverbed, we're going to go ahead and request state. We're going to get crews coming, whether we need them or not. We can turn them around, but we don't want it to turn into another 4 or 5 day fire.
Many landowners burn old grass to encourage growth of new plants. The Flint Hills Smoke Management is a collaborative network of stakeholders working to balance the need for prescribed fires and air quality in towns located downwind from the Flint Hills. Riley County Emergency Management Director Russell Stuckey says when burns occur, some of the communities end up above their Environmental Protection Agency limits for air quality from the smoke.
Brush piles per state statute are not allowed to be burned during the month of April, only agricultural burns.
Stuckey says several factors need to be considered before burning, such as wind, humidity, weather forecast, and available volunteer firefighters. Retired educator and former director of business services for USD 383, Lou Faust, has filed for a seat on the Manhattan-Ogden School Board. Faust worked for the district from 2009 until his retirement in 2023 and says he's at a point in life where he wants to give back and stay involved. Faust told the Mercury Tuesday he'll bring a broad range of experiences to the school board from his decades in the field of education, as well as years of advocating for his son with autism. He began teaching in 1980 at McPherson High School, where he also coached football and wrestling. He went on to serve in administrative roles in McLuth and McPherson before moving to Manhattan with his family in 2009. He became the director of business services for USD 383 in 2011. Faust is the second candidate to file for the 2025 election. Courtney Jane Hockman announced her candidacy in early March. A new country music festival is planned for later this summer at Tuttle Creek State Park, but Visit Manhattan director Marcia Roselle cautions against calling it another stampede.
It is a different planner. It's a different organization that's bringing in music.
Rock the Plains is planned for August 8th and 9th in the same location that Country Stampede ran from its inception in 1996 until it moved to Topeka in 2019. Roselle said that in working with the festival promoters to make the festival come together, she offered some advice.
I relayed this to the planners. It's their event. It's not our event, but it's better to do something small, and grow it, right? Have great customer experience, have a great experience, have people wanting more than trying to go so big so fast.
Roselle was a guest last week on Within Reason with Mike Mattson on K-Man. A trial is set for a Manhattan man accused of threatening a local priest. 35-year-old Andrew Burrell was arrested by the Riley County Police Department in December after he reportedly threatened Father James Trevor Buster, a priest at St. Isidore's Catholic Student Center. In previous court appearances, Burrell has stated that he is an evangelist traveling the country to spread his ministry and that the case is a misunderstanding of his evangelistic efforts. According to documents from the Riley County Attorney's Office, Burrell sent an email to Buster in September communicating a threat on Buster's life. In a motion to dismiss, Burrell alleges that a passage of that email was taken out of context. The line reads, "Yet before I take your life and all those with you, I will share with you a story, truth, so you know how far from grace you have fallen." He says the true intent of his communication was not to place fear, but to convey a message. In a hearing last week, Judge John Bosch said it isn't the first time Burrell has threatened a member of clergy. Though the Mercury hasn't been able to find specific cases yet, a Silver Spring, Maryland church posted a notice in 2023 alerting its parishioners to Burrell's previous threats to kill pastors and his possible presence in the area. Bosch has set the case for a 2-day jury trial beginning July 31st. For News Radio KMAN and the Manhattan Mercury, I'm Bernie Fansella.
News is powered by Central National Bank with locations at the Walmart Supercenter and at College and Claflin. Central National Bank, member FDIC.
KMAN Daily Weather is presented by Park Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Park Business Systems at 776-1452.
Your News Radio KMAN weather update. It is currently 81 degrees and breezy outside right now, but tonight there's a chance of showers that will increase after 1 a.m., but besides that, mostly clear during the evening and mostly cloudy overnight. Into Thursday, it'll be mostly sunny with a high near 92 and wind gusts as high as 30 miles per hour, so get those t-shirts out. Into Thursday night, mostly clear with a low around 54 and wind gusts as high as 25. Into Friday, partly sunny with a high around 70. Now it's back to the game.
Well, as we took our top of the hour break, it just got worse for Jerome Tang. K-State men's basketball has lost one of its 2 high school recruits commits for 2025. Ashton McGee, the 6'6" wing from Madison, Mississippi, a 3-star freak athlete, has decided to open his recruitment back up. He said just literally 10 minutes ago on social media posted a picture with a caption, quote, "I would like to thank Kansas State University and the coaching staff for recruiting me. However, through much prayer and conversations with the ones closest to me, I have decided to reopen my recruitment." Signed, Ashton McGee. Like I said, I mean, freak athlete, great defender, perimeter shooter, just solid high upside. I remember I compared him to, like, I thought he could be the next Lincoln Sheffield because both Mississippi kids. For Sheffield, K-State pitcher, a late riser out of college, did not get as much at college attention as he should have. A little difference there is that Mississippi State, his dream school, pulled his scholarship right before he was about to sign. Wanted to quit baseball, ended up going JUCO, but he finally ended up now here at K-State, and he's doing a great job. Just recently just had a great start against UCF. Before he even gets here, Ashton McGee, who had, he had offers, but nothing quite like K-State when it comes to a power school. He didn't have any of offers from a power school, has decided to reopen his recruitment. I just keep slapping my leg because
it just feels like a bad situation. Bad situation getting worse.
I'm not sure what to say.
And of the two freshman recruits, not to say that I'm not looking forward to Xavier Wilson being on campus next year, but Ashton was definitely the one that I think was a little bit more intriguing because of maybe the upside that he had. He's just an absurd athlete. As you mentioned, a really good defender. So it definitely, I don't love to see him go.
He could jump out of the gym.
Yes, he could.
I don't know. I had not checked like any other ratings or whatever, like if he was getting star ratings from anybody else. I just remember actually ESPN actually had him as a 4-star one time, but I think that changed to a 3-star. But Ash McGee has decided to not come to K-State now. So just another spot. Where are we at now? 8?
That would be 8, I believe.
God.
I believe that's right.
Wow.
And the portal closes in what, like 10 days? 8 days? It's like It's like April 24th, 25th, something like that.
Not good. That's all I can really say. I mean, kind of a broken record at this point. It's just not going to plan. Not going to plan. There could be a number of reasons why Ashton McGee decided not to come to K-State. He hadn't signed, as far as I understand. There was never an announcement or anything that he had signed or anything from K-State. He was technically committed, but didn't sign. Finished up his season, averaged 24 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks. We're talking a game here. 57% score. Wasn't the greatest three-point shooter, but the numbers got better in his senior year. He would shoot it 4 times a game from outside. Yeah, that's another blow. It's not one you wanted to leave. Hadn't even had him yet. So just now, more work to do for the Cats. That's something we'll probably dig into more tomorrow. Let's get to something else here because we've been planning this interview for a while. We're now able to get to it now. Jay Paterno, who's an author, he is a Penn State Board of Trustee, a former Penn State quarterback. Coach. His dad is the late Joe Paterno, head coach at Penn State. Jay Paterno joins us to talk about a lot of topics that, of course, now circle the changes of college athletics for the foreseeable future. Jay, I really appreciate your time. I had a microscope on Penn State this past football season because of the talent, the hype around Penn State. There typically always is. They typically just fall short. Well, made it to the semifinals of the first ever extended college football playoff, fell just short to Notre Dame, went to a Big Ten championship game. Was this a satisfying season for Penn State fans?
Well, as a former coach, I'd say it was a heck of a season. As somebody who's around fans too much now, they're never happy unless you win the whole dang thing. So, if you had told everybody before the season started they were going to be in the semifinals and lose a tough game, the fans would have been excited about that, making the playoff, getting all the way to where they did. But once you get there, it's, especially when you're that close, It's frustrating, but I mean, look, at the end of the day, it was an important step to get into the playoff for Penn State for the first time since the playoff began. An important step to get to that level. And now the question is, what do they do next? And then the expectations right now are sky high here.
Yeah, I bet. What did that do? What did that season do for James Franklin? Did that put him on another level for Penn State?
The criticism is always going to be the Ohio State as it relates to, the record against Ohio State. And Ohio State came in here and beat us and win the Big Ten and getting over the hump. And the people point to the record against top 5 teams and top 10 teams. So there's always going to be, a criticism or something. People keep moving the goalposts. I mean, 2008 at Penn State, we went 11-1, and everybody griped about the one. That's just the way. That's the way it is, and I think it's even heightened now, more so, because of NIL, because of the expectation level when you have high-profile players coming back. The game has been professionalized in many ways because of how much we're paying coaches and now how much players are getting paid. So fans feel a little bit more leeway to be hypercritical, and that's what comes with the territory now.
Jay Paterno is our guest, the author of a book that came out in September, Blitz, the all-out pressure of college football's new era, and that's something I certainly want to get into with you, Jay. There was a topic that just came up this past weekend that we talked about a lot on the show earlier this week, and that's with the quarterback out of Tennessee, Nico, and I don't know how to say his last name, but he no-shows practice right before the spring game, wants more money, and Josh Heupel's not going to give him that money, so they decide to part ways. I just wanted to know if you had an opinion on that, because that is something that is very NFL, that for college football fans, it's new, and we're still kind of learning how to react to it.
Well, I think college football has got to be careful right now because there is a generation of fans that look at, and even younger fans, but so certainly people of my generation that have been watching college football for a long time, and it's repulsive is not too strong a word. People are turned off by what they're seeing now with players jumping from school to school for more money. I think what has to happen is this. No matter what comes out of the settlement with the NCAA that's coming, we're going to have to get to a point where there's a collective bargaining agreement, where there are contracts. Because in the NFL, if a school tampers with you, if a team tampers with a guy that's under contract with you, they're losing draft picks. They get major fines. That's a no-no. That doesn't exist in college football. The contracts, they're not even really worth the paper they're printed on. So I think until we get, and I'm an old school guy, and to say that we're going to have players as employees and players that are in a collective bargaining agreement is something that goes against everything I've always felt about college football. But we got to be realistic. As a trustee at Penn State and a guy who's been around the game for a long time, we got to be honest about what we're doing now. We're running a sports entertainment enterprise on our campus. The Big Ten media contract is $1.1 billion a year. This is not a nice little extracurricular activity anymore. This is serious stuff, and we got to start acting like it. And I think the contracts will protect the schools, because right now there's no recognition of what schools have done. They're training these guys, giving them nutrition, investing in them in scholarships and money. And by the way, a lot of these guys are getting into schools academically they would never have gotten into. And we're forgetting that part of it. No one talks about what this means academically. So, yeah, I think it's an important week in college football history.
Yeah, we did hear a little bit out of the House versus NCAA today about recommendations from the judge. And it looks like one of those things that the NCAA and the conferences didn't budge on is the 105 roster limit. I wanted to get your thoughts on that as well, because around here with head coach Chris Kleiman at Kansas State, he's not a fan of that number, because K-State has certainly built its reputation in football when it comes to the walk-on story. We've had a ton of those. Jordy Nelson is maybe the biggest name that comes from that. Yep. A walk-on that made it to the NFL, and what a story. We've had so many of those stories. Do you feel like the 105 roster limit is a fair number?
Well, I think it makes it tough to practice and do some things you want to do having coached. 115 is probably a fair number. I think the lack of a scholarship limit, I think, was a concession to the 105 number, and the fact that everybody gets 5 years now instead of 4, so you're not redshirting guys. So I think it's unfortunate because it cuts down the number of possibilities and and opportunities for guys to play. The last 10 years I was at Penn State, we had 12 plus, I think 12 or 13 guys that walked on that went on to multi-year NFL careers. So, I think that's going to hurt guys like that you take a chance. And everybody's going to go out and try and recruit 105 scholarship guys, and they're going to be looking for 4 and 5 and star guys. And it's unfortunate because that's been part of the magic of college football, is the possibility of the unknown. And I'm with you. And I think, Bill Snyder, in his day, is probably one of the most underrated coaches in the history of the game in terms of what he was able to accomplish at Kansas State and establish. And he certainly had a lot of great players that were under the radar recruiting-wise. So, I think it's unfortunate that way.
Jay Paterno is our guest. What everybody now is going to have to deal with in college athletics as we think July 1st is, the additional revenue with the additional revenue share with the student athletes. And that means more money that the university is going to have to come up with in the athletic department. K-State's going to have to, in their position, going to have to get creative to get to that $20.5 million for this first year. Do you think Penn State is going to struggle like a lot of other programs to reach $20.5 million of extra revenue?
No, everybody's struggling with us. When you look at us, and I know the numbers, like I mentioned, I'm a trustee, I know the numbers. The last 2 years, we lost $800,000 and made $100,000. So we're not sitting around with $20.5 a year to spend on revenue sharing. And no one really wants to have the difficult conversation that, you can sit here and talk about where you find the $20.5 million. There's a pretty big target right there, and it's salaries. The staffing levels have gone from 30, 35 employees around football to 70 and 80. The head coaches' salaries. When you look at the business model, you're looking at head coaches that are making 10 to 15% of total revenues of what they bring in. There's not another business in America where one person gets 10 to 15% of revenues, not profits, revenues. So we're going to have some tough conversations down the road. And that's why you're seeing agents that are signing guys to 9 and 10-year deals, because they're trying to fence off their money. But now when you look at what coordinators are making, we just hired Jim Knowles from Ohio State at Penn State, and his number, is over $3 million plus bonuses. So you start to look at those things, and you're going to have to find really creative ways to get those numbers. And unfortunately, we're going to have to do some difficult things, or we're really going to be running big deficits.
Jay, I got a couple more questions for you, and I'm sure this is the question you probably get more than anything, so I apologize if this is super cliche, but it points towards NIL and the transfers. Every time a K-State player enters a transfer portal, it is finger pointing that this is what's ruining college athletics, and I wonder how Bill Snyder would have, if he was still around, 5 years later and now knee deep into the NIL and transfer portal, how he would have handled that. How well do you think your dad, Joe Paterno, let's say it's the year 2000, he's still coaching, and now here comes the NIL, here comes the crazy transfer portal with over 1,000 players entering. How well do you feel like your dad would have handled it?
Well, I think what you got to do is you got to turn the clock back a little bit and say, okay, in 2021, when California passed the law that was going to, everybody knew, this was going to kick the door in. There were some very reactionary administrators, athletic directors, presidents who still didn't believe it was going to happen. I think guys like Bill Snyder, guys like Joe Paterno would have said, this is going to happen. Let's get together now on a national level, and let's start to put these things in place. And for lack of a better term, have a constitutional convention that's going to set up a framework of rules so that we're not reacting to what judges do. We are setting this, and then now we can have that conversation. That never happened at the NCAA level. And therein lies the crux of the problem. So I think guys like that, they would have landed the plane. As soon as the plane took off, they would have found a way to land the plane in a place that was equitable for the players as well as the coaches. At the end of the day, though, I think what my dad certainly would have been, and I know this from when I was coaching, there were certain recruits that would come in and they'd be unrealistic about, I want promises of this and promises of that. And much like Josh Heupel said about the quarterback at Tennessee, no one's bigger than the program. And I think the challenge is, and smart coaches will be able to do this, is anybody can throw money and develop and put together a roster. Anybody. a roster of really talented guys. That doesn't take a lot of brains. The coaches that are going to succeed are the guys that can put together a team as opposed to a roster. And I think you saw that with Ohio State, despite all the money that they spent. When push came to shove, those guys really played together as a team. When you look at Notre Dame, when push came to shove, that was a really good team, not just a good roster. I think that's the challenge if you want to succeed right now in what's going on. I think Bill Snyder and Joe Paterno both would have succeeded in that regard.
I'm sure you have so many amazing stories, but do you remember how old you were when you realized your dad was quite a big deal there in Pennsylvania?
I don't know if there was ever one moment. When I was in second grade, I had a best friend who knew my dad's name was Joe, and that he was famous in football, but he thought he was Joe Namath. Yeah. So I guess that I don't know. It's hard to point. I just never knew anything differently. But it's like anything else in life. There is good and bad with it. There were things that happened for you in terms of going on bowl trips and being around certain things that were exciting. And there were things that came with it where, he wasn't around because of recruiting and he had a very busy schedule. Or my dad, to the day he died, had a listed home phone number. And after losses, you pick up the phone and go, Mom, what does that mean? Where did you hear that? That was part of the fun too.
Well, Jay, to wrap up, I want you to be able to get more information out there about your book. You're the author of Blitz, the all-out pressure of college football's new era. Just tell us a little bit more about the book and where we can find it.
Well, what the book is what I call nonfiction fiction. So I've been consulting between coaching and consulting on NIL nationally for 3 or 4 years now. What I basically did was a nonfiction fiction book. So the stories, even though it's a novel, all the stories are real things that are going on in college football right now, in this era, in this generation. So it's really the first book that'll take a fan into what it's like from the NIL standpoint, what the portal is like, the things coaches are dealing with, the pressures, the mental health pressures that are going on for coaches as well as players, because no one talks about that part of it. These players, all of a sudden, they got to succeed in football. They got to run a business, so to speak, of their own brand. Oh, and by the way, go to school, and by the way, deal with family and friends that want to get money. So it really takes you into all those things in a way that no one else has really put in front of people. The best place to get is probably Amazon or the website I have is JV, my name, JAY, the letter V, Paterno.com. Those are the two easiest places to get it. And I think people really enjoy getting into that mindset. And it takes place at Ohio State. And this guy's obviously, Ohio State's one of the toughest jobs there is. And so he puts you into that, where what that coach is dealing with, the ethical dilemmas, because the guy who has a certain, a decent moral compass in terms of what he wants to do and what he doesn't want to do, but what corners is he willing to cut, if any, what challenges, what pressures, and all those things that go with it. And having been a trustee, I even inject the trustee politics that come from the top down into a major college football program as well. So I think people will get a 360-degree view of what's going on in college football right now.
Jay, best of luck with the book, and I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for stopping by and talking with us.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, man.
Once again, the book is Blitzed, the all-out pressure of college football's new era. Appreciate Jay Paterno. We'll quick break. We'll wrap it up with Ask Us Anything next.
Miss part of the show?
No! God, please, no! No! No!
Really? Check it out on demand at 1350kman.com. You're listening to The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Spring is in the air at Blueville Nursery. The greenhouse is filling up with bright spring flowers and cool season veggies. Outside, trees and shrubs are starting to make their appearance. Now is also the time to start amending your soil. We recommend Cottonburr compost. The store is full of seeds, potatoes, and onion sets. Don't forget your crabgrass preventer and pre-emergence to prevent headaches later on this season. Blueville Garden Store is open Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5. Come give us a visit at Blueville Nursery, where you'll always find a friendly smile and expert advice. Located at the corner of Scenic Drive and Anderson and Manhattan.
Information you can use in an ever-changing healthcare environment.
America's healthcare advocate, Carrie Hall, Saturdays on News Radio KMAN.
We're here to educate, inform on the topic of healthcare and health insurance. We've partnered with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas to bring you these shows to educate.
Allow me to take the reins on this one for just a moment as Royals baseball coming up here in 2 minutes. Have you guys ever been on a mechanical bull?
I have.
Really?
Yes, I have.
Was it here? Was it Kansas City?
This was in Manhattan. This was at House Bar on Aggieville.
See, I've never been in a house bar. I'm too old for house bar. You know, I think that area was Shot Stop.
Shot Stop's right across the street next to yours.
Right, but it didn't used to be there.
Really?
They used to be Celtic Star, who used to have really good burgers. Have you?
I have not. I'm too big for the mechanical bull, I think.
The bull rides you. I have. It was, God, oh boy. I think where McCool's is now. I can't remember the place. This had to be 10 years ago, maybe even longer. The guy that was running the bull was only interested in the girls that were getting on the bull. Like certain maneuvers, so certain things happen. So me and my group of friends were like, let's all like get in a line and do, like, just annoy this guy. He was trying to get the guys off as quickly as he possibly could just so the girls had all the time on the mechanical bull. Probably best for business. With that, that's going to wrap it up for a Wednesday. Again, the breaking news for the K-State men, Ashton McGee, a high school commit for Jerome Tang in 2025, just moments ago announced that he is opening up his recruitment and decommitting from K-State. I got a feeling we might do a couple of minutes on that tomorrow, but until then, Royals baseball coming up next. Can they get a win in the Bronx? What's the record right now? 8-9? 8-10?
I believe.
They're better than that. Royals baseball next against the Yankees. For Jimmy, Cole, I'm Mitch. Back from 4 to 5 tomorrow. Go Cats.